Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for joining us for this webinar organized by DTH and sponsored by Intelsat. So today's theme is unlocking the free-to-air DTH potential in Africa. We'll discuss challenges broadcasters face today on the path to digital transformation and how to maintain quality of services while accelerating the switchover from analog to digital. Our industry expert will also discuss ways you can future-proof your network with innovation solution that delivers optimal viewers experience, maintaining quality of services while enabling you to capture the market potential. So for this panel, for this session, we have the pleasure to have among us Kristen Mayer, Senior Key Account Director of Intelsat, Greg Kelly, founder and CEO of Africa XP, Caroline Leclerc, Business Development Manager and Sales for the African and European countries as Enansis, so Jamie Bairoganga, General Manager at Signet Limited, which is also a subsidiary of the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, and Kopano Tahe, Chief Marketing and Sales Officer at Centec. So before diving into the discussion panel, so we'll have a quick video of presentation of Intelsat. Thank you very much for your attention. So we'll now give the floor to Kristen Mayer, Senior Key Account Director from Intelsat, for the welcoming address. Kristen, you have the floor.
Good morning and welcome to today's webinar on behalf of the whole Intelsat team. I am a Senior Sales Director at Intelsat, looking after the media business unit for our Sub-Saharan Africa region. We're very happy to have you with us today. Webinars has become such an essential part of business, and it's given us a great platform to come together as an industry to hear about what is going on in our markets. So in today's discussion, we will focus on unlocking the free-to-air potential in Africa. But I'd like to really start off with Intelsat and who we are globally. Intelsat is the foundational architect of satellite technology. We are the world's first global satellite operator. When NASA put a man on the moon, the world watched that via Intelsat. And since 1968, Intelsat has distributed every Olympic Games event. And since then, the world has been watching major news and sporting events live via Intelsat. And now, more than 52 years later, Intelsat continues to transmit the world's biggest moments. We have truly distributed media for longer and to more regions than any other company on earth. We can move to the next slide. Thank you, Priscilla. Today, we own and operate a fleet of 50 plus satellites, which makes us the largest operator in terms of revenue, capacity, and geographic reach. We combined the world's largest satellite backbone with terrestrial infrastructure, such as fiber and teleports. We bundle that with managed services, and we deliver high quality video and broadband services anywhere in the world. Thousands of organizations today, serving billions of people worldwide, rely on Intelsat to provide ubiquitous video broadcasting, broadband connectivity, and various mobility applications. We continue to innovate in satellites. A few years ago, we were the first to launch high throughput satellites in the geospace, which delivers improved quality of signal and unprecedented efficiencies. So in Africa, we have more than 20 satellites in service across the region for both media and network applications, MNOs being a major component of our customer base. MultiChoice is our largest customer in the region, and they have relied on our services to deliver DTT and DTH services in multiple countries to serve more than 15 million households. We have strong capability in delivery content from Africa to the diaspora, whether that be to the United States or anywhere in Europe. We have platforms in place that can take your national channels to any of the major continents. Galaxy Postcards is undoubtedly one of the most successful. This particular platform reaches the multicultural diaspora resettled in the United States. We are very heavily invested in Africa for media. Intelsat carries more than 900 channels in Africa across multiple platforms. Many of these are our national broadcasters, as illustrated on this slide. These customers have chosen us because of perfect coverage, technical performance, and proven resiliency. To support our customers, we have 3 regional offices and a highly motivated team. Further support available online or via our 24/7 Networks Operations Center. Please visit our website if you need any further information. But with that, I'd like to hand over to Priscilla, who will share some insights on the free-to-air DTH market in Africa. Thank you, Priscilla.
Thank you very much, Crystal. So we'll now have a quick overview of the market, and especially to set the discussion for today's webinar, Unlocking the Free-to-Air DTH Potential in Africa. So just a quick overview. So DataXis is also a market research company, and we have just launched a new intelligence platform. So the first data on-demand platform for TV, telecom, media, and digital industries. So you can have access to more than 45,000 data, plus 600 market report, and plus 250 active profiles. So I invite you to sign up. You will have free credit, and then you can enjoy the data. So just a quick overview of the characteristic of the Sub-Saharan Anglophone country market in Africa. So it's roughly represent around 691 million inhabitants. That's what we estimate in 2019, representing roughly around 155 million households. However, we estimate that there are only 68 million TV households equipped with a TV set, which is relatively low compared to the household that we just mentioned. But we focus that this figure will reach around 93 million in 2025. So the other graph illustrates the TV penetration by country for 2019. For instance, DataXis estimate that South Africa, we have around 83.6% TV penetration, Nigeria 49.6%, Ghana 66.6%, Kenya 44.3%, and then we estimate Botswana around 64.1%. So moving to the next slide, we have seen the first graph that the sub-Saharan market is primarily free-to-air. However, pay TV services is also gaining popularity. So free-to-air households account for more than 40 million of the 68 million households we just mentioned earlier. So the other graph illustrates TV reception by technology. So as we have seen before, the African market is mostly dominated by free-to-air with terrestrial and DTH reception. So terrestrial reception, including analog signals, stands around 60%, and the rest account for DTH reception. So concerning pay TV reception, so the biggest share goes to IPTV, DTT, and DTH. The next slide shows the evolution of reception by access. So we have seen a decline in analog terrestrial, which represent the switch over process. So from 20 million in 2017 to 10 million in 2020. So digital DTH free-to-air TV household on the rise, and the same apply for DTT free-to-air TV household. So the other image illustrates some of the operators offering a free-to-air package. So we have Multi-TV, we have MyTV, we have OpenView, and we also have recently launched of free-to-air DTH bouquet. So we have the pleasure to have among us Craig Kelly. So the Africa Expert just launched the Premium Free, which is a free-to-air DTH bouquet. And then regarding the forecast, so to conclude, according to DataXis, TV forecast for the Sub-Saharan African market, we expect DTH free-to-air to increase from 21 million in 2020 to 33 million in 2025. So DTH pay TV household is also expected to increase from 7 million in 2020 to 23 million in 2025. And DataXis also predict a slight decrease in terrestrial free-to-air from 26 million in this year to 25 million in 2025. So thank you very much for your attention. We'll now move in today's discussion topic. Maybe before that, I would like to invite all the speakers to briefly present themselves and also give us a quick overview of their responsibilities in their company. So we can start with Crystal first.
Thank you. As mentioned before, I am a Senior Sales Director at Intelsat, and I look after the Media Business Unit for Sub-Saharan Africa region. I specifically look at the strategies that we need to deploy to assist broadcasters, whether that's public or private, in expediting their plans for this region and really capturing the market.
Great.
Hi, I'm CEO of Africa XP, and as you mentioned, Priscilla, we launched Premium Free in October 2018 in West Africa, and have recently rolled out into the rest of Sub-Sahara. We the origins of our company are in building linear thematic channels across a number of different themes. We sell those channels, license them to legacy broadcasters in the market. So Premium Free it represents something of a strategy tilt of us taking them directly to the market ourselves, and a shift in focus from supplying to pay operators, away from supplying to pay operators towards monetizing through advertising, which is obviously your only source of possible revenue if you are operating in the free-to-air space.
Thank you very much, Craig. Caroline?
So good morning, everyone. So first, I would like to apologize. I have suffering eyes, so I am in the dark, so you can't see me very well. So that's why I will switch off the camera afterwards. So first, I would like to thank Crystal and Intelsat for inviting us to speak today. So I'm representing Inensis. I am in charge of African and European country, and we are a world leader in optimizing networks. So we'll go into more details later in this panel, but the idea is really to help broadcasters and telecom operators to optimize the network and manage better the bandwidth or manage better the monitoring of the network, and overall to give them better hand on this on managing the network and on the cost of the network. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caroline. Jamie?
Thank you, Priscilla. First of all, allow me to thank Intelsat and DTH for getting us onto this webinar. It's, in my opinion, going to be a very interesting discussion, something that broadcasters in my country are looking forward to. So, I'm from Uganda, and I manage Signet, which is Signal Network Limited, a subsidiary of the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Signet actually does handle the infrastructure of the network and the network of the corporation. So we manage 11 radio brands and 4 TV channel infrastructure, but also we handle all the DTH free-to-air traffic in Uganda. So my role really is to keep the system whistling, but also I have the opportunity to be the business development manager for the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, looking into ways like Craig is talking about to really use this network to monetize it better, optimize it, and get it to have some returns on investment for the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Copano?
Thank you, Priscilla. And well, good morning, everyone. My name is Copano, as introduced earlier. My role is within Centec. I'm looking after the marketing and sales division. And my portfolio covers more on content and multimedia, as well as managed infrastructure services. So just to give a view of who Centec is for the broader audience, Centec is one of the leading communication service provider within the continent, and with dominance within the broadcasting signal distribution, and also looking at expanding on its connectivity and managed infrastructure services. We provide services to about 300 plus customers, and we have a national footprint within South Africa. And our coverage also extends to the Sub-Saharan from the satellite perspective. We actually run one of the largest teleport in the region. We're managing about a fleet of about 7 transponders. And the coverage includes some of the Sub-Saharan region as Intelsat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Copano. So just a quick reminder, so I inform you that you have the option to choose the language. So we have the webinar is being translated simultaneously in French, and also on the Zoom control bar, you have the Q&A's bar icon, so you can, as from now, you can drop us your question and we'll take them after the panel. So maybe to set the discussion and to start, I would like to ask a question to Jamie as well as Copano. So maybe Jamie first, so can you, for both of you, give us a broad overview of the state of the DTH migration process in your country?
Well, thank you very much, Priscilla. DTH in Uganda, we started in 2015, and we did a complete switchover from analog television to DTT. However, even as we did a complete switchover, we have not attained 100% population coverage. Therefore, the rollout is only 60% complete. The network has about 17 DTT sites. We're not a very big country. We're a country of 44 million and growing. We have 17 sites, and we're looking to grow the network further with another 11 sites and 40 gap fillers. We operate a multi-frequency network in the center, in the capital, on 4 frequencies, and then the rest of the country is on a single frequency network. We have about 42 clients currently that we are servicing on the DTT platform, and they are all free to air, but interestingly, 70% of those clients are faith-based. You see, they are faith-based. But I can tell you that in Uganda, we have, as of 2019, we had 8.09 million homes that had TVs. And of those 8.09 million homes, only 3.99, about 49% had television. Now, of the 3.99, we had 1.9 using satellite TV and then free to air, and then the others, 2.1 million on terrestrial television. Now, the interesting thing is that with the advent of COVID-19, education has moved on to television and radio largely, because most of the schools, all our 15 million learners were, sent home to try and curb the spread of the pandemic. Now, that has gotten many more people purchasing electronic media equipment, radios and televisions. So surprisingly, we are seeing up to 12% jump in TV ownership and viewership on the free-to-air platform, because those education programs, continuous education programs, are happening on the national broadcasters' platforms, the 11 radio stations and the 4 TV channels. So by and large, we have a desire to grow in this country. There is, I can speak about the number of privateers who are looking to get into the market, because we're headed for the general elections in 2021. And since the general elections in my country are also going to be conducted, the campaigns are going to be conducted via television. So there is about 8 other TV players who are looking to enter the free-to-air market. So there is room for that. We're looking to see how we can grow viewership and have, in the short term, 100% geographical and perhaps population coverage. And therefore, we are working towards deploying a hybrid system, a DTT-DTH hybrid system. And I guess this talk here comes in rather handy, because what we're talking about is where we're headed. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. So Kopano, you have the floor. So can you tell us a bit about the state of the DTT migration process in South Africa?
Thank you, Priscilla, certainly. Centec, as you know, is a state-owned company, and it's leading in the delivery of the DTT project. So we're actually spearheading it and a flagship for the government in deploying it. So Centec, what we have done, we've deployed the digital television network across the country. So we've covered 100%, where we've done so by having a terrestrial network that covers over 84% of the population, as well as we've complemented that with about 16% that is direct on satellite, direct to. So this covers more than 100% of population within South Africa. And because we understand that because of our topology and the geographical reach, it was quite difficult for us to deploy some of the terrestrial sites far areas. So hence we complementing with the satellite offering. We have about, I think one of our services has about 182 terrestrial sites, the others having about 100. And that gives our customers the reach that they need from digital terrestrial television perspective. The digital migration project is currently ongoing. Is proceeding well. As you know, we've had the first analog switch off happening in an area called Northern Cape, one of the region, which is close to the SKA area, to reduce the radio frequencies in that area. So now what we're doing is we're proceeding with the other four regions. We're following a broadcast digital migration plan as agreed with the stakeholders of government and other service providers. So we're going to be then leading into those areas to deploy. It's important to note that we know that the availability of set-top boxes has sort of tried and hampered the progress as much as we would love to. But we know that even though the government is focusing more on the indigent market, subsidized market, which is more about 4 or 5 million homes, there's still a gap in the market of other unsubsidized market within the commercial sphere and the retail market that can be addressed. So we look forward into having those set-top boxes available because the network is currently ready and the broadcasters have provided the content that needs to go with the digital high definition content that goes into the market. So we just need the uptake of the end users, which is enabled by the end user devices or set-top boxes that can be in the market sector. So from a South African perspective, I think we're progressing quite well, and we also need to look at it from a holistic perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Kopano. So, Greg, so as an operator for DTH free-to-air, you have a DTH free-to-air offer. So what are the technical challenges and also the trend currently being faced in the African media market for you as an operator?
Well, I would say...
Greg, we cannot hear you.
Testing.
That's good.
There was a bit of a lag in taking off the mute there. I would say that the technical challenges of putting channels on satellite are not significant. It's very easy to put channels on satellite, and this is one of the wonderful benefits of a free-to-air DTH distribution system, is that you can put channels up and suddenly they are physically available in a massive area. And when one compares that with the logistical challenges of DTT and having to build transmitter sites into all sorts of places and finding trees and mountains getting in the way and having to put gap fillers and then going to all this trouble and still finding that you only reach 60% of the country and so on and so forth. It is actually the technical ease of DTH free-to-air that is attractive to us. There are, however, challenges in then commercializing the content that one places there once it's up. Firstly, you need to put it up on a beam that is being viewed and received by large numbers of people. Different households would have satellite dishes looking at different satellites, and so if people's dishes are not looking at the satellite that you're on, then you may technically be able to reach them, but in fact nobody's viewing, and if nobody's viewing, then you can't monetize that. So you need to be on the beam where there are a lot of people watching. And secondly, you need to be able to prove that. Whilst there is very good audience measurement in South Africa, in most of the rest of Sub-Saharan Africa, there is not audience measurement that international advertisers would consider reliable. And that obviously means that they're unsure of whether they're getting value for their money, and they want to see proof of that. So one of the biggest challenges we face in terms of monetizing the content that we put out, it's easy to put it there, but in order to monetize it, we need to move towards having a good deal more research and audience measurement to actually prove that there are people watching our channels.
Thank you very much, Greg. So, Crystal, so you've been, Intelsat is being operating in the African market for quite some years. So according to you, what are the challenges and the trend that you have been seeing since the past years?
Okay, so the main trend for us today is really the effects of COVID. We've seen national governments reprioritizing funds. Access to infrastructure has become a problem, and especially with travel restrictions and the import of key infrastructure needed to upgrade or to restore services or to implement new services. So certainly the effects of COVID, I think there's still going to be many months that we will be experiencing the effects of that. And it's really forced us to work differently, you know, hence a webinar like this is actually wonderful for us just to get together. So of course, cost of infrastructure, also a major issue, and then maintaining that infrastructure, specifically in the DTT space. You know, while there's a huge promise of DTT, the reality of migrating to DTT can be very daunting. It is costly. And specifically because if you want your audience numbers to increase, your cost increases, and it's an ongoing cost. And that's why we do see a lot of operators considering the value of direct to the home. And once you've got the direct to the home, you know, service, you also need to compelling content is your next challenge. So that's some of the challenges that we've seen in terms of trends. Jamie has highlighted as well. We've seen operators who are traditionally on the DTT service consider a DTH hybrid service to fill the gap. And that's been incredibly useful in really achieving 100% of your audience within a particular country.
Thank you, Crystal. So Caroline would like to have your point of view here regarding the technical challenges and trend that you've been facing and also having while working on the African media market.
So first, I would say that the main DTT challenges are often the geography.
Caroline, can you speak a bit louder? We are having some difficulties in hearing you.
Sorry, is it better like this?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was saying the main challenges with DTT is often the geography. So you need to reach out to large territories, places that are quite remote, and it's not always easy to access. For example, if you take places like Namibia, it's sometimes people, the broadcaster had to go there by helicopter. So it's quite expensive. Now, if you talk about challenges with DTH, we've addressed it a little bit earlier. It's really, you need to have a BIM, which is regarded, I would say, a BIM where lots of people are reachable, and it's quite expensive. So in the infrastructure, DTT is expensive. In the OPEX, DTH is expensive. So what we have come up with is this solution that Jamie was mentioning earlier. It's the hybrid solution where you're using DTT for we'd say the inhabited places where you have a lot of people, so you can have a very good reach, and it's also less I would say that, these places, it's more, the penetration is better with DTT because it's less expensive for people to put on everything like a dish and to watch the television. So in these places, you're using DTT where you have lots of inhabitants, and then to cover the whole country and all the remote places, you're using the DTH. And this is mainly combining the signal and having the same uplink for the DTT and DTH, which was not possible before. So I would say, to summarize, the main challenges are infrastructure, the cost of infrastructure for DTT, the cost of DTH, and the idea is really to optimize here. The idea has been to combine them on the same beam to be able to reduce the cost and to address the needs of the broadcaster better.
Caroline, I would like also for you to keep the floor for the next question, but I have some message from our attendees, so they are struggling to hear you. If you can speak a bit louder, that would be great. So the next question is for you. So what technologies are available to complement DTT in bridging the gap and achieve 100% population coverage? So maybe if you can adjust your mic, that would be great.
So is it better like this? I switched off the... Yeah, okay, sorry about this. So so the goal of Inentis is to build technologies that would help in facing these challenges. And one of the solutions has been the one beam solution. So that's the solution Jamie was mentioning earlier, which is actually helping broadcasters who've built up the DTT networks. So they already have these terrestrial stations to cover part of the country, but this infrastructure is very expensive to maintain, and it's very expensive to cover the whole country with these terrestrial stations and have them all over the country. So the idea is to use what is already existing and to add to this the DTH. So that's where Intelsat is coming into the picture. The idea is to use the existing uplink to feed the stations, the terrestrial station in DTT, and we're using this uplink to add the DTH services. So the broadcaster is paying only once to cover now the DTT stations and the whole country. So now the question has always been, so what is the use of DTT? Because you could cover the whole country only with DTH. That's true, but the main difference is that DTT gives a much better penetration because it's less expensive for people to put up a small dish to receive from the terrestrial stations. And it's also giving a better signal in the area where you're received. So these two points make very high places with very high density better covered with DTT. Now, if you talk about the whole country, obviously DTH is a solution because you won't be able to cover the country where the density is quite diverse over the whole territory. So the new technology, it's really, I mean, the innovative technology was really to combine both services on the same uplink. And that's what we've been doing with Intelsat, with the specific satellite, where you can actually uplink both services, DTH and DTT, and then really help broadcasters to save in operational expenditures.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So I would like to go back to Greg. So you just you launched Premium Free, which is a free-to-air package, DTH free-to-air package. So we'd like to know a bit more about Premium Free. How is it going? And also, you mentioned earlier a free-to-air DTH offer. So viewership, audience is vital, you know, to attract advertisers. So what are the importance of being in the, or I would say on the correct beam, as you mentioned earlier?
Well, a very good example of a platform that went on the wrong beam and didn't get the traction they wanted was OpenView in South Africa. They're not free to air, they're free to view. So their signal is encrypted, but they launched on a beam that did not have a very strong neighborhood in South Africa. They are a South Africa specific service. They were on that for quite some time. And they were finding that people were unwilling to move or install new dishes, and their traction was not good at all. And as soon as they moved on to IS-20, which has all of the dishes in South Africa, basically, there are very few dishes that are not looking at that. Their service took off very quickly, and they have well in excess of 2 million. I'm sure they have about 2 million households now. So the importance of moving on to a beam that is that strong completely revolutionized their business and has able to get them the traction they needed. We obviously launched after they had that experience, and we launched in West Africa and first, and you know, chose a beam that we knew had good neighborhood there. And our approach is to region by region choose other beams that have the viewers in place already. Now that the necessity of that is to get short-term traction. In the long term, obviously, one can attract people to an orbital position or attract people to a beam by putting very interesting content on there. And I can see that happening. I can see that happening, you know, in partnership with, you know, DTT platforms where people want to receive the national channels on a particular satellite, so they're willing to align their dishes there. You know, this has been something that has been foremost in our thinking as we have rolled out our service based on what we've observed in the market already. A very good example of a highly successful free-to-air DTH market is North Africa and the Middle East, where almost all channels are at a single orbital position. You know, if there is critical mass in terms of availability of channels that people want to see, then kind of everybody goes there. The consumers go there. The channels have to go there because the consumers are there, and so it creates an ecosystem.
Thank you very much, Greg. And here I would like to have Crystal. So how would you, just to follow up for what Greg just mentioned, so how would you rate the importance of video neighborhood in attracting advertiser to a free-to-air DTH service like the one that Greg have, I mean the premium free? Caroline, maybe can you switch?
Sorry for that. I would say very important, if not the most important. Craig mentioned short-term traction. If you want to achieve short-term traction, you have to have your content on a popular video neighborhood. Especially in Africa, it is expected to be the fastest growing TV market in the world. And with free-to-air DTH services, it's primarily funded by advertising spend. And to attract that spend, you need to have quantifiable evidence of eyeballs. Now, eyeballs really equates to antennas pointed towards a specific satellite. Unfortunately, today, there is a lack of credible audience measurement data in general for most countries in Africa. South Africa is covered. Intelsat saw this need, and we actually conducted our own study with Geopol across 6 countries for our prime video location on IS-20. And that particular study confirmed that IS-20 is prime, especially because it reported that that neighborhood reaches, in 6 countries, it reaches up to 40 million households. So absolutely important.
Thanks, Crystal. So, Jamie, for the next question, I would like to ask you, so what are the challenges and how easy it would be for a free-to-air operator to expand their services into OTT streaming? So we just mentioned what happened with the COVID that obliged operators to go digital. So what are the challenges for you, and also how would you be able to launch a streaming service, an OTT streaming service? Jamie, your mic, yes. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Just before I delve into that, let me just say this, that on what Craig and Crystal talked about, I find that TV advertising capability is actually one of the biggest issues that will be affecting DTH, because if indeed you cannot tell the advertiser, then it's difficult to get the advertising dollars out of them. To that end, I would like to find out how much Intelsat specifically is involved in the current bid to create a DVB TA standard specification so that end user devices are standardized and users can have devices that can actually be able to show where they are and what it is that they're watching. Maybe you'll respond to that later. Now, pertaining to an FTA DTH service getting into OTT streaming, it's not as easy on our part. We have looked at it, and the infrastructure, the CDNs, getting people to change behavior from consuming traditional television to online is not so easy. You can also not quantify or get the numbers easily for you to be able to put dollars into OTT streaming. However, the one advantage there is that you will be able to have the content already because you're aggregating it at your DTT and FTA center. So you're able to transfer it onto the OTT streaming. Now, it's the model of whether you're going to do subscription video on demand or you're going to do paid video on demand. And our experience has been that when you give people an opportunity to get into onto your OTT platform, they will for free, but for as long as you try to gain revenue from subscription, subscribe. Not many, there's not a very good uptake rate for subscription video on demand on OTT. But for free-to-air OTT, it's possible, only that it's not easy to get the money in there if you cannot see how to monetize. Now, one of the biggest issues of OTT, in my opinion, is being independent of the TV owners' provisioning of the markers of advertising, of the adverts within the stream. Because if they don't give you the markers, then you have to, you forego that expenditure. But it's good that we have found some technology that does automatic identification of the adverts that are there, and you do dynamic ad insertion. So we're exploring that, and we hope if we can crack that part of it, then it will be a bankable switch or addition to our service portfolio. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. So before giving the floor to Crystal to reply to Jamie's question, so I would like to have the point of view of Kopano on this issue.
Yeah, thank you, Priscilla. So from a Centec perspective, I mean, we found it quite manageable and relatively easy for us to integrate our customers into the OTT streaming part. Because the reason being is that we're running a multi-platform digital service from the onset. So where we can easily provision our customers on DTT, those that are licensed for it, as well as DTH and OTT, to give them a wider reach for their audience so they can receive them anywhere, anytime, on any device. So for example, what we did is during the COVID-19 level 5 lockdown restrictions, as you know, people could not congregate, and it was part of the restrictions that the government had put in so that people don't spread the virus, as you know. So what we've done is this within South Africa started in March. It was leading towards us having our Easter period over the weekend, the Easter weekend. So what we eventually did, in a matter of days, we managed to put together an OTT streaming platform for our religious channels that were already on our DTH platform. We extended their stream to provide services on an OTT streaming, created a portal that they can access it, and this enabled our customers from the religious channel to have their congregants access their content over their phones while at home and keeping a social distance. So we were able to implement that, and it was quite successful looking at the number of hits that we got over that Easter weekend period. So like I said, for us, the point is we had built our infrastructure to enable a multi-platform digital service, depending on where the customer wants to be, as well as looking at the ubiquitous nature of following the consumer trends. We want to be able for our customers to deliver their content anywhere, anytime on any device. So that gives us a flexibility of saying, how do we extend the value proposition of our existing customers into other platforms? Because as they said, we are already aggregating the content and receiving the content that they're providing to us. So it's a matter of enabling it to be received on other mediums.
So before giving the floor to Crystal, so I know that Greg also have some project to launch an OTT streaming platform. So how easy it would be for you to expand your services into an OTT platform, and then we'll be giving the floor to Crystal to give us more detail on how Intelsat can help in that.
Yeah, I think OTT services are becoming more and more affordable. Obviously, you know, you need to have your content. You can either aggregate your content or create it. We obviously, our background is in channel creation, so we have the channels and we have the content. We have partnered with an Australian-based OTT platform called Switch Media, who provide a lot of OTT services to various other broadcast platforms. They will build the app and provide the backend and place the app in the App Store and so on and so forth. So in that sense, it's quite feasible to be able to launch an OTT. Again, what are the issues? What are the dangers? What are the risks? Well, firstly, you may have difficulty in terms of traction because people are using data, consuming data to view, and data costs money. So you have to be conscious of the fact that you might have much better traction if people are watching through some kind of Wi-Fi connection or through some free data initiative. Or if data prices are cheaper in one country than another, you would be likely to have more traction. There are also solutions whereby you could stream the channels over satellite and then have those channels receivable to a set-top box, which is then connected to a Wi-Fi router, and people could connect their mobile devices to that and then be consuming those channels without incurring mobile operator costs. You could partner with mobile operators to eliminate some of those data costs as well. So reducing data enables consumption, and obviously you're selling eyeballs, you're selling views if it's free, if it's a free service, you're selling views. So the more viewing you have, the more opportunity you have to serve ads and the more able you are to generate money. And then the second issue is that if you have the viewing, you need to generate more money than your CDN costs. And that means that you need to have mature demand. In the US, a CPM rate for advertising into a mobile channel is about $15. In Africa, it's about 3.5 to 4. So there's not as much demand. Most of the demand for OTT advertising goes into YouTube and Facebook at the moment. So there is interest from advertisers to find additional publishers, but it's not mature. Most of the OTTs that have launched have been pay, and I think it was Jamie who mentioned that pay is not going to fly in the African market, especially since people are paying for data already just to watch. It's not a rich market. People don't have credit cards, so they haven't loaded cards on Google Play. So there's work to be done in terms of plugging into the demand and making sure that there's enough demand and you can raise the CPM enough to pay for your CDN costs of delivering and then making a margin as well. I think it will happen. I think the more activity there is in the free space, the more people will use the opportunity and more CPMs will grow. But yeah, so those are the two issues really: data costs and making sure you have enough demand.
Thanks, Greg. So, Crystal, so what are the financial models that could work for operators with limited budget? We have seen that there are a lot of challenges. So how can Intelsat help in that process?
just to circle back to what Jamie has asked around new standards, and I just wanted to quickly answer that, and then I'll answer your question as well. We've seen these new standards still as very aspirational, specifically for Africa. The available technology to do this in a cost-effective manner is just not complementary. In order to gain the traction that you want, you need to have a set-top box in the range of about $20, which is your sweet spot. The moment you install a SIM component for maybe to have a connected box, the cost of that box jumps twice, 3 times, maybe even up to 5 times. So the cost of the box would be very expensive if you do that sort of technology enhancements at the set-top box level. But then there's also the cost of connectivity, and then you also need to consider privacy of information. There are some factors around that as well. So we are always looking at opportunities to collaborate with our partners to bringing new innovations to the market that will help with audience measurement. We do see that with the uptake of OTT, it is a complement to satellite broadcasting. And if you are able to launch a satellite service together with an OTT service, you are able to really measure your consumer preferences with a small sample, but it's still a good sample. And that same platform can be used for advertising or even surveys for a reward. We will continue for now to support audience measurement on our major video neighborhoods with the likes of your major audience measurement companies that are available and operating in this particular territory to support that until we believe that the available technology really justifies moving forward and maybe a set-top box solution. But coming back to your question around the financial models, what we've been doing is we've been working with some of our customers who have been procuring capacity from us, and we assist them to bundle other requirements into the same contract, like a one-stop shop. So you can come to us for all of your media distribution requirements, whether that is technical resources, commercial, content, or even marketing assistance. There is a few projects in Africa where we've collaborated with key partners, where we were able to deliver a single contract that included marketing, or we have a particular initiative at the moment where we want to develop IS-17 for our East Africa region. But we will talk a little bit more on that specifically in our session tomorrow. And yes, and the way that we are able to bundle with your capacity contract, hopefully that gives you the commercial flexibility to do more, for your specific operation.
Thank you, Crystal. So moving to the last question before we start taking questions from our attendees. So I would like, first of all, to have the point of view of Caroline for this question. So is there any specific innovation in the broadcasting space that you believe would bring transformation in the free-to-air DTH space?
So there is mainly in OTT today. So that's also something that we are looking at and building solutions named OTT over satellite that will become affordable with new technologies enabling the switch to broadcast everything uplinking. So it's not that expensive. And then in the box at the customer's premises, you will have the ability to switch back from broadcast to unicast, so the people will be able to choose what they want to see, what they want to hear. So the new solutions are coming, and obviously you are very welcome if you want to know more about this to look on our website or to ask questions directly. And that's mainly everybody is looking at OTT, and it's definitely the future because that's what people want. Now the main challenge, as we were discussing before, will be the business model, and to build up a successful business model with these solutions.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So, Jamie, any specific innovation in the broadcasting that you believe would bring transformation to the free-to-air market?
Well, thank you, Priscilla. Yes, just two of them. There is push VOD, the ability to send video on demand content over the FTA system. Then the other one is automatic ad insertion. That will actually go a long way in helping monetize the network, but also to help you recoup some of the costs that you put into it. So for me, those two are really key for monetizing the network: push VOD and dynamic ad insertion.
Kopano?
Priscilla, I think from our side, and I think it's been mentioned by Caroline as well, we've been playing around with the idea of the solution of providing OTT over satellite for quite some time, or even also looked at over OTT over DTT. So we did do a demonstration about 2 years ago at AfricaCom, where we demonstrated the usability of the service, which enables broadcasters to be able to send some of the HLS streams or content through the satellite, and as it's being received at home through a set-top box or a home gateway, the people connected to that set-top box can receive that over Wi-Fi. Craig also spoke about it. So the idea of that and why it's so interesting is that it enables consumers to consume the video content without using data charges. This gives then, especially within our sphere where data charges are quite high, it enables the home users to be able to share some of that content that gets delivered on the home device through satellite, and then you connect using Wi-Fi to stream that. You can do catch-up services, VOD services on it, even live streaming you can see, limited to the capacity on the home unit. So that's one of the innovation sort of ideas that we've been trying to position within the market. I think Caroline said it quite more that obviously the business models around that on monetization is quite important. We currently making it available for someone to engage with us on utilizing and trialing some of those services. And for customers or broadcasters, what it then provides them is it gives you a more predetermined cost factor, because then your variable cost is not going up and down based on the utilization either of the CDN or of the consumer streams, because it will mainly depend on the satellite capacity used to push out the capacity content that gets to the home gateway or the home user device. So you're relatively able to manage your costs around delivering the content throughout. It has a home gateway or commercial gateways that enables for a wider reach in public service areas where you had more consumers there. I think one of the equipment we tested could enable about 100. So you could try and position that within like a transport hub or a place where it is like a school, for instance, or a place that you can have multiple users. Then that content resides on the home gateway, but is received through satellite. So those are some of the things that we've been playing through. Obviously, the biggest thing is it needs to be enabled by the home user device. If we can get some of those devices in the market that can be ubiquitous in terms of how you receive it. If it has a T2 DTH or an IP input into it, then consumers at home can utilize which service they want to consume their content on.
Thank you, Kopano. Greg, maybe some of the specific innovation that you would like to see?
Well, I'm very excited about the technology that Kopano is talking about. You know, because as he suggested, it bypasses mobile data costs where they are expensive and can be placed in public areas like transport hubs or schools or university residences or, you know, shopping malls and things like that. But I also see it as a very interesting way of delivering content into rural areas. You know, many years ago, we had a partnership with a Tanzanian broadcaster called ITV, which was the dominant free-to-air in Tanzania at the time. And one of the reasons they were so dominant is because they use C-band satellite to transmit their signal. They put dishes up in just about every village, and people would gather around to watch on a single set on a TV running off a car battery, and that gave them pretty much 100% penetration of the entire country and their dominance, which they had in the TV space for a very long time. And the beauty of content, both linear channels streamed over satellite that are receivable on a mobile device, as well as push VOD onto a gateway, as Kopano describes, is that everybody can watch exactly what they want, and they can be reasonably far from the received device. So it's a kind of a similar single setup feeding multiple people, and it's something between domestic use and sort of large scale, sort of commuter hub use. So that for me is extremely interesting. The other thing is that we switched away from supplying pay TV operators, our channels, to pay TV operators as our primary business. I mean, we still do that, but we decided that free-to-air television should be our primary business because we saw pay operators launch and fail over and over and over again. And every time they fail, it was, a painful experience for us because we essentially lose a client. And we concluded that it is extraordinarily difficult to roll out a pay service in a continent like, in a region like Sub-Saharan Africa, because there are so many countries, because the population is relatively rural. You have different licensing and different technical specs that you have to comply with. Funding set-top boxes that are specific to your service are extremely expensive. And of course, any new pay TV operator has a credibility problem that has nothing to do with them. Their credibility problem has to do with the 10 pay TV platforms that have gone broke in the last 10 years. So people are unwilling to invest in a box when they have 3 or 4 dusty boxes in a cupboard that they can't use anymore, if it is a pay TV specific box. But what we've seen, on the ground is that people are not at all reticent to invest in a free-to-air box. Why? Because if they don't watch this channel today, they'll watch that channel tomorrow. They'll turn their dish and tune in to whatever they want to watch. So they know that the investment in the equipment is worthwhile. Now, I would love to see a future where the default free-to-air box in Africa becomes a box that can receive IP over satellite as well. Because what that means is that free channels, free video channels and free stream channels could be received. If they connect a hard drive or a flash drive to the box, push VOD could also be received, all free. But because that is delivered to a mobile app, authentication can happen through a different device. And you could actually also launch pay services in that way. People would then be registering an app on their phone and finding a way of paying, and that app would let you in or not. And so they would still be buying a free-to-air box. And that, I think, has a chance of enabling pay services in Africa again. Without that, I don't see another entrant into the market being able to compete with MultiChoice and Star Times in the pay space. So yes, that's the reason for my enthusiasm about IP over satellites.
Thank you very much, Greg. Crystal, maybe if you can tell us a bit more about the specific innovation that Intelsat is planning to bring in the broadcasting space.
There's a few that we have been working on. Of course, I would just want to start with high throughput satellites, which really improves the efficiencies of your video distribution in a particular market. So there's a lot that we are doing in that space at the moment. And then I just want to emphasize exactly what Craig and what Kopana has been talking around OTT over satellite. And of course, caching to the edge. We do see that technology as an enabler. Craig has given us some good examples of the potential. For me, the one that stands out is really the public spaces and taxi ranks as an example. In South Africa today, we've got more than, I think it's 500,000 taxis a day, transporting more than 5 million people a day. And I think anybody would want to get their hands on that sort of audiences on a daily basis. So I would absolutely concur with OTT over satellite as being that one technology that is that next step into free-to-air distribution for Africa.
Thank you very much, Crystal. So we'll have a look at some of the questions we received. So we have seen that some of them have already been replied, but I would like to take a question for Crystal. So it's from the SABC. So is 100% DTH possible, or the installation of the satellite receiving dish need to be duly adjusted to ensure reception?
Okay, so I hope I understand the question correctly, but really 100% audience coverage, that is the major benefit of DTH. But in order to pick up that signal, yes, you would need to adjust your dish to pick up that required DTH signal. In South Africa, IS-20, which sits at 68.5 east, would be our prime orbital location. And in South Africa alone, that satellite reaches 8 million DSTV customers and also 2 million OVHD. From what I understand, SABC has some DTH content on there as well. But there, in essence, is no limit to the DTH reach on IS-20 in South Africa specifically.
Thank you, Crystal. So I have another question. Do you see foresee technology that can increase the reach in terms of number of viewers that can be of interest for the advertisers?
Sorry, Priscilla, for who's that question?
So do you foresee technology that can increase the reach in terms of numbers of viewers that can be of interest for the advertisers?
Absolutely. I think, again, coming back to OTT over satellite, because we do see more people using their mobile devices to consume content. So that is really a key marketplace that still needs to be reached. We've got, on the one end, we've got traditional satellite broadcasting, which with the technologies available and with satellite, there is no limit to the reach. But then when we come to OTT in particular, by using satellite to really enable delivery of content to devices, taking away the cost of data whilst consuming that content. So I would say in the OTT space, and specifically because audience measurement can be done through that particular connected technology as well.
So I have a question again on audience measurement for Greg. So how does Greg demonstrate audience measurement to his advertisers?
Well, the fact of the matter is that without proper audience measurement projects in place, we can't. And that constrains our ability to sell advertising. So there are, as Crystal and I have both said, in South Africa, there is a legitimate, well-recognized, reliable measurement. In outside of South Africa, there are a few countries in which there are some audience measurement projects. But I would say that the structure of those projects is not universally recognized as being credible by the major advertisers. And that presents a problem for us. So what we do is we go into the marketplace. I mean, there are people selling advertising in every country in our continent. So people are selling some advertising without it. The question is, on what basis is the advertising being allocated? Is it a buddy-buddy relationship? Is it an historic thing that was it the first to market? Is it on the basis of the fact that the chairman's wife of the advertiser likes a particular show and his kids watch another one? There's some kind of randomness, but nonetheless, transactions are taking place. The issue is that for businesses to have stability and to invest and to have reliable expenditure. It needs to be based on more credible metrics. And so, you know, we Africa XP has set up a sales agency called AdNet Media, and they are you know, they continually have this as a challenge that they have to engage with. Yes, satellite companies have satellite studies where they say this is how many households we reach and so on and so forth, but they can't tell you the granularity of who's watching which channel and how many people are watching that channel at what time of the day. So we are very much agitating and trying to facilitate audience measurement, proper audience measurement, credible audience measurement projects. And you know, we are of course speaking to Christelle and indeed all of the satellite operators and the major media operators, and indeed the major advertisers should all be supporting this to ensure that we have one universally accepted, credible set of data by which we can make our commercial decisions. And the fact of the matter is that's not presently there. It's a problem, and we need to band together to solve this problem.
Thank you, Greg. So we have another question for Crystal. So how can Intelsat provide better value and stable internet for VOD and streaming? So it's a question from Uganda. So he's also saying in Uganda, a major problem is the cost of internet, which is the highest in the region.
So we definitely do have technologies in that particular space, and I would like to encourage you to maybe attend tomorrow's webinar as well, where we will go into a little bit more detail on how we can help operators specifically interested in DTH and free-to-air for Africa. We've actually run out of time, so and I noticed that there's a number of questions still, you know, on the panel. Could I maybe suggest that we can reach out to each of the attendees that have raised a question? We will speak to them personally as to the question that has been raised. And then I know that there will be a copy of today's webinar that will be shared and available online after the event as well. But from our side, we just want to thank you for your participation today. And sorry if we've missed your question, but we will definitely have a direct response to you within the next few days. We would love to see you tomorrow for the second webinar as well. And feel free to reach out to us, either via your sales director. We've got sales directors in Senegal, in Kenya, and then in South Africa as well, or online. And Priscilla, with that, do you want to maybe close it with a quick video, or is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Yes, so just to follow up from what Crystal just mentioned, so it's true, so we have a lot of questions, so I will divert the question to the respective panelists, and then we'll make the necessary for having your question answered. So thank you very much for attending this session. So as mentioned by Crystal, so tomorrow we'll be having another session, the session 2, for at the same time. So maximizing your free-to-air channel distribution, where some of your questions will be addressed during that session. So I thank you, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for assisting this webinar. So we'll end with a quick video of Intelsat. thank you very much, all of you. And I remind you that tomorrow we are having the session 2, maximize your free-to-air channel distribution. So I invite you to join us tomorrow also. So thank you very much to all our panelists, and see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.